And that's why I think some are overreacting to the news about NES games on Switch Online. I mean, the cartridges aren't going anywhere, you can still play them. People are acting like a bunch of NES babies. Nintendo was nice enough even to put out some Switch NES controllers for only $59.99. That's reasonable, right? I think it's still a good idea, guys. Right, guys? What's going on? Oh no! What have I done? Junior, did you say something? What's going on? Are you sure you're not doing a video about me? Because that would be awkward and downright cowardly to talk to me right before doing a video about me and not even mention it. But I'm sure if you did make a video about me, you'd have the balls to tell me about it the day after it came out when we were speaking to each other, right? The blizzard of negative responses has shown me that I've lost touch with you all. And I can no longer review these NES games in good faith. But what's left for me at this point? Is my career over? Should I just review games from the Neo Geo Pocket Color?
Ho ho hello, Pat. I heard you've been naughty to gamers.
Santa?
Yeah, I'm Santa, yeah.
I know why you're back. You're here to give me that sealed copy of Section Z I asked for.
No, you lunatic. I'm here to recommend a game for you to review.
Doom for the Super Nintendo? Well, I guess that makes sense. It's the game's 25th anniversary. I already reviewed Wolfenstein 3D. And yeah, you probably chose it because it's a Christmas color. The cartridge is red.
Yeah, that's why. It's not because it was my best teenager recruiting tool since Dungeons & Dragons. Catch you later. Thanks again for your soul!
Sure, Santa, you should get back to the North Pole. Doom was developed and originally published by id Software in December 1993 on MS-DOS computers. Following their own Wolfenstein 3D, id Software took the burgeoning genre of first-person shooters to new heights. Doom quickly became the standard bearer and set the bar for all other first-person shooters that would follow, with improved graphics, more complex stages, rocking music, fantastic weapons, and interesting demonic enemies. In case you've been living in a video game cave, here's the story. A space marine on the moons of Mars has to battle monsters from hell. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Doom was a bloodfest that was unlike any video game that came before it, and it quickly became one of the biggest computer hits ever, with a franchise that still endures today. Doom would be ported to the Super NES by Sculptured Software and published by Williams Entertainment in September 1995. This version of the first-person shooter really pushed the SNES to its absolute limits. It employed the Super FX2 coprocessor graphics chip to get the most juice out of the console to try and emulate the original PC experience. Even still, there are distinct differences between this version and the original PC one. Amongst the changes, sound effects are not entirely accurate for some enemies, and some weapons like the plasma gun and chainsaw sound different. You cannot strafe and circle around, as the game locks in your strafe, not allowing you to move forwards or back. The shotgun no longer sprays damage or kills more than one enemy at once. Enemies always face a player, and they don't turn on each other anymore when they hit each other accidentally. They also no longer become chop meat from rockets or barrel explosions. Tortured and sacrificed bodies laying around have been removed, as well as just about all satanic references. Most annoyingly, switching weapons is done with a single button press on the controller to cycle through them. Even though you can pause and switch your weapon that way, it breaks up the flow of the game. Of course, the most noticeable change are the substandard visuals. The game runs in a window with a black box around it, the frame rate is pretty rough, and the graphics are chunky, especially at longer distances, when you cannot easily see enemies in the distance even though they might be shooting at you.
I don't think it looks that bad.
So it's an impaired version of Doom, but for the Super Nintendo, the translation gets the job done. The vast majority of the stages are here from the 3 original campaigns, the soundtrack still kicks ass, all the enemies are here save for the Invisible Demon, and the great weapons, oh, what can you say? You got the pistol, shotgun, the chain gun, rocket launcher, plasma rifle, the vicious chainsaw, and the ultimate BFG 9000. BFG, of course, stands for Big Frickin' Giraffe. Right? I may have that wrong.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with, from bikes to trains to video games. God. Oh, Jeffrey, come back to us. We're sorry. Mom!
The same health and armor pickups are available, you have the same hidden secrets, and special power-ups like the Berserk Fist Attack and the Soul Spear to boost your health. Aw, why is that little guy so sad?
That reminds me of when Nintendo first announced Super Mario Run. I mean, come on! Mario on a mobile device? Nintendo, what are you thinking? He doesn't belong there. And then you never made another console game after that. You monsters! You turned your back on us! Ah!
The Doom action on the Super Nintendo is still as intense and as frantic as you'd expect, even though you risk blindness after a while from the over-pixelation. The gore is reduced before a 16-bit Super Nintendo title. This is insane! This port came after Nintendo softened their stance on game violence, so fortunately there are buckets of blood and monster guts to drown in.
Ugh, I'm feeling queasy. My stomach's turning. Almost as much as when I first heard Nintendo was gonna make games for mobile devices.
Even though it could never possibly live up to its superior PC roots fully, there are still some shared properties. The SNES mouse can be used, which I don't personally recommend, and there's even X-band modem support for multiplayer. That would have been the hotness for 1996. According to programmer Randy Linden, you can even plug in the Super Scope. He also stated that he packed in as much Doom goodness as he could, so much so there was only 16 bytes left to spare on the cartridge ROM. Remember, PCs at the time were much more powerful than a Super Nintendo. So rejoice, because unlike the bad port of Wolfenstein, Doom on the SNES is an exhilarating addition to the library, faithfully translating the spirit of the original experience while delivering some fun home console violence.
Doom was a bit better than I thought. Maybe there's something to this Super Nintendo console. I mean, I did own it as a kid and had several games and rented a bunch of them, but my knowledge could be a bit better. I wish there was a guidebook that could help me learn about all the games in the library.
Did I hear someone ask for a wish?
Yeah, I wish for a Super NES guidebook that reviews all the games. Can you give me one?
I could have. Too bad you already gave me your soul.
But I don't want any coal.
Ho, 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 ho. Praise Satan.
Oh, this devil humor is gonna be the death of me. A Super Nintendo book? Are you really that surprised?